Can I name this vehicle in 10 seconds? Let's go. Mercedes-AMG GLC63 SE Performance 4MATIC Plus. The most powerful Mercedes SUV of all time. How does it perform? And why have Mercedes picked this specific engine concept here? We're going to find out with Thomas in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Mercedes-AMG GLC63 SE Performance. Mercedes-AMG GLC63 SE Performance 4MATIC Plus. Yes, now I finally got it. Yeah, at least we could produce one blooper with that, right? And we're also going to find out the differences between GLC63 and the GLC43 that will be launched at the same time. I'm going to take you on a tour of all you need to know here in the front. Then here with the vertical fins, Panamericana grille that is more wider here in the lower part, and also these really dramatic lower graphics left and right. This one is also equipped with the AMG Night package. That means a lot of high gloss black all over the vehicle, also at the side mirror caps. And this specific vehicle here is, by the way, first of all, high-tech silver Magno, a matte paint. And it's also equipped with the optional aerodynamic package that, for example, adds this more dramatic effect here on the lower part already. 4.72 meters or 186 inches is the length of a GLC, and here the AMG version start with 19-inch wheels for the 43 model and 20-inch for the 63 model. However, these here are the optional 21-inch wheels, even more massive, cool styling in the Spider AMG style, red brake calipers as contrast. And suspension-wise, it's interesting that they do not offer air suspension like in the previous generation or like they do in the current generation for the normal GLC. But here they always go as standard with an adaptive suspension without air. But then they say they have such a wide span between comfort and sportiness that they do not need the air suspension. Plus, here in the 63 they have the anti-tilt control and also now the rear axle steering in this generation. However, in the normal Mercedes GLC, up to 4.5 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels. Here it's limited to 2.5 degrees because they always equipped with wider tires, most obviously. So they're a little bit limited in the rear axle steering. And it steers in the opposite direction until 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. That's a very high threshold indeed. In the rear, very massive, especially towards the lower part, we'll have more high gloss black. And then out of fake exhaust alloy, because on the inside you can see, there you see the rear exhaust and the outer tips are just for beauty purposes. And more beauty purposes also here in the top part. And then you have an even larger spoiler here. It also serves aerodynamic purposes indeed, not only just for the beauty actually, or for more aggressive look. It adds more downforce, yes. However, that also means higher consumption. Turning indicators in the front replaces the top daytime running light. That looks quite fancy, doesn't it? Turning indicators in the rear, well, it's right here. Not too bad, but not as cool as in the front, isn't it? And now just dream for a moment that this is your house and these are the two vehicles that are parking in front of your house. Okay, dream is over. Let's talk about the colors. This is here Patagonia Red, also very striking red color. And this one here is Graphite Gray Magno, also here a matte paint. And talking about active aerodynamics, here in the front grille, both in the wide top part here and also in the lower part, it can be shut for better aerodynamics. In the lower part, we can even demonstrate that to you, because when you turn on the engine or turn it off, then directly opens or closes. In the upper part, that only works when you reach a certain threshold of cooling that is being needed or not. Key fob here with AMG logo, and also at the back part, it's really heavy, so good quality door closing sound. That doesn't sound too good, but once again the Magno paint, I love that, just to touch and feel it. Then inside of the doors, Everything wrapped tightly. Sadly, a lot of high gloss black and also this one button design here for the seat heating, for example, and for the memory seating. So design-wise, it looks cool, but then when you touch fingerprints and so on, it's actually not that cool then. But what's nice are these AMG entry badges and also with the floor mats. And what I also love about, standard for the 63 version, here the microfiber steering wheel, at least at the sides. And then you have hashtag capacitive BS buttons on the steering wheel, also not that good to control. But then again, here when switching the driving modes, that is fairly easy. Then about the seats, you get a standard sport seat, and then you can optionally go for these performance seats. They are a little bit stiffer, but also have more bolstering at the side here then. So, it depends. So they hold you tighter, but they're also less comfortable. And usually standard would also be the Dynamica microfiber at the inside of the seats. This is here the optional animal skin pack. If you go for the microfiber, it's also giving you more comfort and more raciness at the same time. Then here, 189, 6'2", still a lot of headroom left. This one is the version here now without a panoramic roof. You could still go for one. And the steering wheel here goes up and down, in and out. Need some ignition for that. Ooh, here we go. And then we can also see how these drive selectors and so on are illuminated. There you can also hear how the sound actuator plays together with the real exhaust. Yeah, kind of a little bit weird, but while driving, actually it will be a different experience. It's coming up soon. Interior cockpit overview, vertical layout of the infotainment. Here we can get some carbon fiber decoderment, that's fancy. And I always love here the clicking sounds of these turbine air vents. And the EU speed warning you deactivate here on the top left of the infotainment system, or press and hold the volume button. It's a new law actually that new vehicles always get a warning chime with 3 chimes when you exceed the speed even by 1 kilometer an hour. Digital instruments offer special views, not only sport but also super sport then here, or a track pace view where you can even see more telemetry and so on. Oh, there we go, for example, when I change the steering angle. And here you also have a special AMG performance section in the infotainment system, like the energy flow to the battery. You have driving informations here with the Newton meters, vehicle. There you can see how the suspension is working. Engine, of course, more engine data with the power output and so on. And here IWC, this is then this analog clock I used in the front of the video or in the beginning of the video. And this is then the stopwatch. It could be, for example, then for a lap timer and so on. Middle console, too much black piano lacquer for my taste. Inside, much space. The cup holders here, they don't hold high bottles enough. USB-C charging, inductive charging pad. And I like this split opening here, more space underneath. Always with a nice closing sound, right? Rear doors, also with soft touch in the top part and also here, just hardback in the lower part. And then these performance seats here are not playing well as for the legroom. So, yeah, it's really tight then if a tall driver is sitting in the front. Almost no space, so if you stick with the normal sport seats, this will be better, or also in the normal GC version and so on. Headroom here is no problem. There the coupe would have some compromise, but it's still quite okay then. And overall, it is actually fairly comfortable in the rear. Again, the performance seats here, these optional AMG performance seats, neither that practical for front and rear seating. They just look cool. As for the trunk or the boot, let's take a look. The basic dimensions here in width and in the length. About 1 meter or 40 inches, that's good. But here, when you have the 63 version with the e-performance battery, then you have this additional step in here. You can lift this one here for maybe like a small charging cable or something, but this car will probably never see a charging cable, I predict. And you can also fold the seats, and that's a very good mechanism here, right and left, and they directly fold flat. And it gives you like 118 meters or 71 inches, so loading volume, pretty cool. If you would have later the coupe version maybe, that's also coming out, then of course you have some kind of compromise because this area here is a little bit flatter. Now about the engine. We really have to discuss it about the pros and cons. First of all, let's lift the hood. Looks quite cool already. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Sacrilege, yes, the same as in the C63. Then you have here the additional dome strut for more torsional rigidity in the front. Very interesting. Here the system output is 680 horsepower, 480 horsepower from the combustion engine, plus 200 horsepower from the electric drive. There's an electric motor at the rear axle that is directly powering the rear axle. 2 gears or 2-speed, and that means it also runs over the whole spectrum. It doesn't shut off at some point or something. And it selects the second gear at about 140 kilometers an hour, so like 80 miles an hour. What do they do with this system and why? First of all, the reason for it basically is emission laws in the European Union. So they try to keep the CO2 output and the consumption low on paper. But the problem is that usually you have high displacement, low horsepower. Does usually mean not so high consumption. Here, of course, they do low displacement, high horsepower. Yeah, and in real life, that usually doesn't work out well as for the consumption. We will test, of course, both in our driving part today. The efficiency and the consumption when you just drive normally, and of course, the performance, boosting it out, and so on. 3.5 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. That's amazing. And they use F1 technology for the battery. Liquid cooled with a capacity of 4.8 kilowatt hours net. So you can charge this car externally, like here on the driver's side, but it doesn't really make any sense. So it is literally a plug-in hybrid, but with that low capacity of the battery, you have electric driving moments, but not for a longer period of time, maybe like 10 kilometers or 6 miles or something, and that's it. The battery is used as a performance boost battery that you always have the full performance, and it's then being constantly charged again by the by the real motor, by the combustion engine. Yeah, and that is of course not good for efficiency. Everything is trimmed on performance, and then you have to ask yourself, if this is done for efficiency reasons and CO2 output and so on to, for the law and emissions, blah, 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 but then again, it's for performance only and it's not really efficient, why would they do that? But we're going to find out in the driving part. You see, I'm very skeptical about this concept, but I can already tell you, because I drove some part already, the driving part is really something else. You will be looking forward to it. I can give you my word on that. Interesting that difference 63 to the 43. Here you have the anti-tilt control at the rear axle. That's an extra to keep it more, keep it more upright. It comes standard with the 63, but it does not come for the 43. And also the overdrive distribution is different. 63 here, more variable, up to 50% of the power to the front. In the 43, you have a fixed ratio, 30% front, 70% in the rear. This one here, the 63, will still remain rear-wheel biased in the all-wheel drive nevertheless. And the acceleration figure, whereas this one here, 3.5 seconds, the 43 model would be at 4.8 seconds. So this one here, the quickest, the most powerful SUV Mercedes has ever built. Everyone ready? Launch control, acceleration, let's go. Whoop, that's 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. Whew! Wow, the seat belt is still tight. Whew. And you also heard the Lia meter. There's always a great indicator for extreme acceleration. That was a rocket. So, most powerful SUV of all time? Definitely is. Whoa. Whew. That gives you the adrenaline rush. Of course, you can always use here the shifting pedals. Then shift down yourself before. So the electric boost was definitely helping us, but it didn't feel unnatural or something. So really inbound with the vehicle. So performance-wise, yes, definitely. There, the electric boost defo helps. And now let's attack some corners. Sound actuator is actually recording the sound from the exhaust and then recording that bass line, so to speak, and then creating live the sound out of it. So it's not a direct recording, but it is the live source where they create the signal from it. And that's why it's also really aligned to what we do actually with the engine. You of course hear some crackles and pops from the exhaust itself really. Yeah, my favorite thing is really using the shifting pedals myself. This one here, the 63 model, also exclusively has the anti-tilt control, so the car stays more upright. It doesn't tilt at all. In the Sports Plus mode, the suspension is also set on a stiffer note. It's the adaptive suspension that is ruling very well, both on the comfortable side and also on the sporty side. That's why they also say, hey, we don't need an air suspension. But actually the air suspension would give you more comfort. But this one is, for a very sporty one, still somewhat comfortable. And of course it delivers you great sportiness here together with the 21-inch wheels, large wheels, also very wide. Therefore the rear axle steering cannot rule that wide as in the normal Mercedes model. Here in the AMG model we still feel something of the air suspension, but they also reduce the degree angle purposely 2.5 degrees because say that's enough and we still want everything to feel naturally. So yes, the normal Mercedes customer should have more flexibility when parking in and out. The AMG customer is supposed to have more natural feeling. And here I feel that the vehicle is super agile, but it doesn't feel unnatural from that rear axle steering, I have to say. And also this electric boost, they have integrated here very well. And the funny thing is, you have always that instant torque. It's almost like driving an electric vehicle as for the performance, but then again you still have this feedback from the combustion engine. It feels somehow cooler than just driving just an electric vehicle. Wow. Oh my gosh. Holy moly. This is fantastic. I mean, I'm not sure if I ever had so much fun in a sporty SUV. It's so flawless and smooth, doesn't lean at all, and usually the way is that, you know, for example, when you drive like a Porsche Cayenne or Macan or something, then you always know like, yeah, okay, that's the maximum they can do with an SUV and it drives fantastic, but yeah, okay, the sports car is always better. And in a way, it will always be like that because you can't deny physics. But the way this car engages you here, this SUV engages you for this kind of high body type is absolutely fantastic. So why did they choose this performance plug-in hybrid concept? To bring down the consumption on paper, at the same time give you more power, although cylinders are less and the displacement is less. The overall engine, of course, is also smaller. So did it actually work? First of all, as for the efficiency, fuel consumption, when you're not driving in a performance way, so just cruise control, 100, 120 kilometers an hour, 60, 70 miles an hour and so on, even then around 11 liters on 100 kilometers. So this engine here is incredibly inefficient, extreme high consumption, even at constant and good speeds where you have good conditions for the consumption and so on. So efficiency-wise, it doesn't work. The only thing that it does, it's on paper better for the CO2 output. So yeah, that's always something that can be highly criticized. Then the overall concept of making things even more complicated, putting so much extra weight in it, the battery, this Formula One tech in it, plug-in hybrid drivetrain, and then adding all the electronic helpers and with the suspension and here and there. It's a really overcomplicated vehicle on the one hand. On the other hand, you can say, yes, it is a masterpiece of engineering, what they have achieved here and how many complex things are in this vehicle. It's absolutely incredible. But the question is, does it make sense? Well, we have to say that driving-wise, as I just said in the driving part, this has been one of the most incredible rides in an SUV for me ever. And the performance is without doubt outstanding. Such a great acceleration. There, indeed, the e-boost does help. And the driving agility, what they've done with the suspension and so on. I can't believe how good this SUV is riding. You don't feel it's an SUV.